life I could have known, one beyond my wildest dreams. Maybe that road could have carried me to streets of gold, but things aren't always as they seem. Looking back on all the chances that I missed, some I held, some slipped away. One street over where my memories exist, I wondered what would change, I really couldn't say. In this life there's nothing certain, except the curtain that rises to the stage. Silly games of second guessing, I just forget the lessons that I couldn't learn. Because one street over there's a life I could have known that would have kept me from the one I had today. Time's gone by, I've traded like dirt into clay. I thought my memories would end. One street over's now 1,000 miles away. When I close my eyes, I'm back to where I've been. In this life there's nothing certain, except the curtain that rises to the stage. Silly games of second guessing, I just forget the lessons that I couldn't learn. Because one street over there's a life I could have known that would have kept me from the one I had today.
Good morning, Robertson County. How you doing? It's a brand new morning. A little cold out there. This is 1100 WSBI. I'm Eugene Laverne. This is One Street Over. And, no, we got spring on our mind, but it's going to take a minute before we get warmed up and we can kind of really start planting everything. I was out at Corbin, and I'll talk to you about that in a minute. But in the house today, this is kind of a weird week because Wednesday was the first day of the month, and so
Right.
typically Donovan is the day after you, and we have the county meetings that come up, after y'all, and it's just
Right.
the way the calendar falls is always kind of, I have to really concentrate when it's weird, or I book people at the wrong place.
And we also have a late spring break this year.
Yes.
Usually we would have been last week.
Oh, really?
Clarksville, Montgomery County was last week.
Okay.
Because they do theirs with Austin P, which was
Right.
earlier than anyone else. College
Okay.
spring breaks are always pretty early.
Right.
And then this week that we're in, a lot of people are on spring break.
Right.
I think
Sumner, Wilson, yeah,
and
all
of
them.
And ours just happens to fall next week.
Mm-hmm.
So we do try to, for folks who are not aware of it, we try to put 45 days, 9 weeks in between the breaks. So we start with Christmas and then we work out. So how that fell this year with different holidays and whatnot, then it was closer to put spring break next week than it would have been this week. It would have been too many days in the second 9 weeks. And we also like to have days in the second, or technically it's the fourth, second one of the semester for testing and those kind of things.
Sure.
Because they take up a lot of time these days. So.
Well, and Dr. Chris Causey, I don't think I properly introduced our director of schools. He is with us. He comes in once a month, the day after the board meeting. But again, the calendar, this is the second, this is the second Tuesday. The second Wednesday was last week.
Right.
So anyway, so just trust me, it's his day to be here, and we're glad it fell. And I like our school calendar. As a teacher, I liked getting a little bit of extra time after Christmas. Everybody's like, you're going back. We're still out.
Oh, yeah.
And you've already had your spring break. We haven't had ours yet.
Yeah.
So it's kind of, I kind of like it. I don't mind
they
it.
didn't like it going to school on the 21st or whatever it was back in December, but the week
now,
after. And it's just, years are different. They are totally different. Some years they look good on one side, not the other, and then
Of course.
and so it is what it is. But I'm sure our teachers after last night and and we recognized our Teachers of the Year last night, and I'll get to that in a minute.
Sure.
But definitely, most of the board comments at the end of the meeting were centered around spring break, and
Yeah.
our folks definitely deserve it. Our kids deserve it. So I hope
I'm
everyone
ready.
has a good and safe week off.
I'm ready.
Fall break doesn't scare me nearly as much as spring break, because that's a lot of people take more trips during the spring.
Yeah.
And kids sometimes go by themselves during the spring, and all those kind of things. And we've got ball teams that are playing next week as well in different tournaments. And I think we've got one going to Gulf Shores, and I just ask everybody be careful and be safe and
Pray over them,
and
y'all.
enjoy your time. Absolutely.
Pray over these guys. And I love your heart, because what a thing to come out of a director of school's mouth. It's like you're thinking about these kids traveling. And I'm still getting that teacher mindset. It's something that hadn't occurred to me. Now I'm worried about them. No,
Well,
no.
and I'll give you, for instance, on
yeah.
Friday that we closed for the wind, and and all of the superintendents, I say all, most of the superintendents were actually together that day. We were at Sycamore High School having a meeting. We were scheduled to meet that day,
Okay.
like we do once a month, and of course at about 1 o'clock or 2 o'clock when it rolled in, we sat around for a few minutes just talking about how smart we looked. And for canceling school that day, we don't get that opportunity very often.
Like we're brilliant.
But what a lot of people don't know, of course, we didn't have buses on the road and all of that. But even that afternoon, we had to go to Nashville and pick up schools. We've got a kid or two at Tennessee School for the Blind, and they come in on the weekend. Mm-hmm. Or sometimes they come in every day, depending on the kids that don't live that close. They actually they have residences for some of those kiddos. But our kids, of course, we go get every day. So Thursday, I think Thursday afternoon, late, we had to go pick those kids up as the wind started, and that was our supervisor of transportation himself. That wasn't just hey, I'm going to call a bus driver, try to do it. I think Josh drove down to Nashville and got him himself. So
awesome.
So that is, we've got buses on the road all the time. Luckily Friday night, by the time all was said and done, we look across the district and we fared pretty good shape with damage. We did have quite a bit of athletic facilities and things like that, but yeah, I thank the Lord we didn't have a bus on the road at 2 o'clock, because that would have been right when elementary were dismissing. Yeah.
Absolutely. And it was so funny though, because as the call came in on Thursday, I had not been paying attention to the weather. My husband and I, we were roofing contractors for 20 years. Once we closed the door on that, we just quit looking at the weather. Because our world was the weather for 20 years. And so we were just like, yeah, it's raining. Oh, I don't know, whatever. So I don't pay a lot of attention to it. Now he does. And he came in, he goes, school's canceled tomorrow. I'm like, what? And all I could imagine is my kids going, yeah, and being so excited, because you get to know them, and I got tickled thinking about their emotion, going, we're not going to school tomorrow, and I just love these kids. They're so much fun. They are so much fun. But all right, Director of Schools, Dr. Chris Causey in the house. It's the day after the school board meeting. Where would you like to start, sir?
Well, we had an early planning session at 5:30 this yesterday afternoon per se. And the big topic was cleaning services and the cleanliness of our buildings. This year, of course, we did go with a company we had not used before. We'd used the same company for quite a few years, even after they changed hands of owners. And so we rebid that last year. A new company is called HES. And we met back in January, we met with the company because we were concerned about really the job that was being done in their buildings. Trash not being taken out in some of the rooms, not being mopped, not being cleaned, bathrooms looking kind of gross. So we gave them a couple months to go out and try to do better, try to hire more people, those kind of things. And then we met with a follow-up last night, and I think Mr. Corbin said it well. In some areas, things have improved. Some areas not so much. The thing is, they've got two shifts. They got the day porters that we see every day, and we build those relationships. Then they have night folks that come in and do some things when no one else is there. And we had a lot of discussion about, why are some schools better than others? What's their what's your organizational chart? Which supervisors are over these schools? Which ones? And the board asked a lot of hard questions of these folks because, the cleanliness of our buildings. It's the first thing you notice when you walk in the door. And when you walk into a bathroom that looks like it hadn't been cleaned in a few days, that's very, very concerning. So that was a big conversation last night. And we do surveys. Principals do surveys. Your principal does a survey on Greenboro High School once a month on how it's looking. And the whole point is to get those numbers up. And right now they're just barely, the average is barely above acceptable. And that's just not good enough for us, especially when we have some schools that are scoring not acceptable at all. And they need to do better. So I think they're on I'm going to say a very short leash. They understand where they need to do better. And next week, while the kids are out of the buildings, we do expect a very deep clean of all of our buildings. And hopefully when they come in on Monday, they'll be able to see a pretty big difference. Just dust. I mean, those kind of things that really should be taken care of. If not on a daily basis, definitely, on a weekly basis, just like you would your house. And when the school that your kids go to every day are not as clean as your house, that's a problem. And we're going to try to do better. So that was a big discussion in the planning session.
And it's a big discussion amongst staff and teachers and those types of things. And we appreciate it. We appreciate that y'all are taking a look at it.
The last thing you want as a teacher is to go into a restroom and go, okay, are we really out of toilet paper again?
Yeah.
You shouldn't have to worry about that.
And spending time, instead of planning time, having to clean.
Yep.
And that's a thing because you're like, I've got to get this done. You just so many things are working, later trying to get those things done.
And a big shout out. We had supervisors and coordinators over the weekend that actually traveled and visited all of our schools.
Yes, they knocked on my door.
Saturday and Sunday, they showed up and looked at our buildings and tried to give a good reflection of where we were. So very proud of my folks for getting out and doing that over the weekend. Appreciate them very much.
Yeah, I got a visit during the school day, or maybe I don't know. It was at some point I was in the classroom and got a visit. So we appreciate that. So all the teachers will say thank you. So what's next?
The second conversation, and just tell folks, planning sessions are simply that. They can't vote on anything. The board cannot vote on anything. They cannot really make any plans or anything like that. While making plans, they can't make any direction. They can vote on those kind of things in a board meeting, but it's really just a conversation. So the second thing that was part of the conversation is the lack of substitutes. And how do we fix that? We're at, on good days, we're at 68% fill rate. On some of the worst days, we're lucky to get to 50%, especially on Fridays and Mondays and those kind of things. And so it is very important that we try to work on that. And there are companies out there that will do that for you. And I'm not going to call them a temp service, but they really take over all of your substitutes. They hire them. They pay them weekly instead of monthly, which is what we have to do. The pay rate doesn't change that much, even though we are looking at that in the budget to offer more. But they do incentives. I mean, if you refer someone who gets hired as a sub, you get a gift card, those kind of things. If you sub, 5 days in a row, you get a bonus, or if you sub on these particular Fridays, you'll get more. And they can do that because they have time, and they'll have somebody dedicated to that.
Okay.
And that person will work in one of our offices, and they'll be in charge of substituting. So the principals don't have to wake up and go, okay, how am I going to fill the 6 positions I now have today? That should take a lot off of our school's plate. Of course, you pay for it. So a company's called ESS. They had a presentation. They're known across the state. They're the strongest one in the state, in my opinion. And they did a presentation for the board last night just to give them some information to start thinking about as we approach budget season. But talking to all of our principals, all of our office staff, who usually ends up with that chore. Imagine attendance clerk, bookkeeper, and you show up at 6:30 for the day, and all of a sudden now you got to figure out who's going to cover Miss Smith's class because she called in sick, or whatever the case may be. It's a tough job. And to have someone that does only that will really relieve a lot of stress and time that our office folks and our administrators have to worry about when they wake up in the morning. So we're excited about it, but that was part of it. And then the last part, we actually, our IA 6th graders actually had PBL, project-based learning, A lot of people call them problem-based learning, which means they truly find a problem that they're trying to solve. And they had some presentations in the focus room, same building. So the board actually left the planning session at 6:30 and went and visited those kids, listened to those presentations. And they're going to be actually on display and doing their presentations this week at Innovation Academy. So
Cool.
So that was a great way to finish up a planning session.
I love it when you get to see what the kids are doing. They're so excited.
Apologize for my phone.
No, you're fine. You're fine. Talking with Dr. Chris Causey. He is the director of schools here in Robertson County. I'm going to let you check your messages, and I'm going to take a quick break and talk about my friends Corbin Creek Greenhouse Gifts and Gardening Center. I was over there yesterday talking to Miss Amy, and bless her heart, they have been working like crazy. If you did not, they had storm damage. They had some structural damage to one of the greenhouses. They're trying to get all that done so they can get it recovered. They've got, as she said, the plastic stretched on one of the other houses, and so they've been able to get enough done. But this cold weather that they're having for the next week and a half keeps everything under cover. So they've got all the things, but they've got it all put in different buildings and those types of things rather than having them right there in the greenhouse. So just bear with them as they're trying to get everything back to normal after the winds that came through, because you can imagine what that does to a greenhouse situation. And she describes it as she had two greenhouses, I think two explode, basically with the wind just like popped and so they've had to dig out of a mess. They're going to be just fine, but they're going to be ready to see you. So just make sure that when they say go, that they've got the greenhouses full of stuff again, that you get out there and you spend some money with our local favorite, and that is Corbin Greenhouse Gifts and Gardening Center. They've got a couple of dates they want you to put on the calendar and save. Right now, they want you to put on the calendar April 1st, April Fool's Day. The In Full Bloom Festival will be happening starting at 9 a.m. And then their Customer Appreciation Day, which is just a blast right there at Mother's Day. That is on May 13th at 9 a.m. And they're going to have some planting stations for the kiddos and some things like that going on. Go in and see them, see all the gifts that they have there, just all the things that they have to offer at Corbin Creek Greenhouse Gifts and Gardening Center. Gotta love them. Miss Jane's doing great. Just had a great visit with Miss Amy yesterday, and I hope you'll get by there. If you've got questions, give them a call at 615-384-3185. 615-384-3185. They're at 4920 Highway 161 in Springfield. When you stop by, make sure you tell them you come sent you, and thank them for sponsoring One Street Over. Dr. Chris Causey in the house, our director of schools, talking about school board, planning session, all the things.
All the good stuff.
So, what's next?
Actually, the best thing we did last night, and I hope the board forgives me for saying this, but I think they'll agree with me, actually, were the recognitions that we had. First thing we did do is recognize Greenbrier Middle School cheerleaders. They went to Disney with the Nationals. I always say Disney, it makes them sound like they were having fun. I think they did have fun, but they had to compete, I think, like 3 times in a 13-hour period.
Yeah.
And they actually ended up finishing 7th in the nation.
That's so cool.
So that's very cool. We got a chance to recognize them and give them certificates last night. And, of course, their coach, Stephanie Hamilton, and that group, just very proud of the work that they do. And so, hoo-hoo for Greenbrier Middle School. Of course, I told him that being the former principal of that school and former teacher of that school, of course, I taught, I think, before they were born, and I was principal, I think, when they were maybe in kindergarten or even earlier. I think they were 2, is what we said, trying to figure out the years last night. So, and of course, those middle schoolers are just looking at, like, you're that old? Yes, I'm that old.
Oh, yeah.
But that's okay. So one of them, I said, well, how old do you think I am? And she goes, are you in your 50s? I said, I just turned 50 last week. So
and by the way, happy birthday.
Thank you very much.
Happy
Appreciate
birthday.
that very much. We also, they were on Grundy, and I know I'm probably mispronouncing his name, football player out of Springfield High School. They have it's the National Football High School Federation. I'm going to get all that. I'm going to butcher that. They have a ceremony every year. They have a dinner every year that recognizes that one football player from each high school, which is when it comes to scholar athletes, they're not necessarily, your best athlete, even though this one's really good. Speaking about a lineman, one of the best in the state. But it's really those kids that show leadership skills and those kind of things. And Deron Grundy, senior football player, received the award. Let me get this right. National Football Foundation branch of Middle Tennessee, the Admiral William P. Lawrence Award when the program that comes out, now this is all for the entire state, when the program comes out, he's on the front. His picture's on the front, and he's there with Kevin Dyson.
Very cool.
Former Titan, now Dr. Dyson, who's a principal in Williamson County, which for those who know about it, yes, Kevin Dyson, who we all remember, Music City Miracle, the Super Bowl,
that
all
guy.
of that guy. Is a principal, high school principal in Williamson County.
That's so cool.
Just and a great speaker. If you ever get a chance to listen to him, he's been at quite a few FCA banquets and things like that. He's got a great story. But anyway, yeah, he's on the front, and it's just amazing that we always have that athlete from each high school that's there. But for him to receive that recognition that night is a big deal. And Coach Wilson was there, and he's big in ROTC. So when you think about the leadership mentors that he's had with Coach Wilson, Major Lightfoot, Holland, and Nations, that group, the ROTC program is just phenomenal. Man's he's gonna be president one day, and I'm just hoping that maybe he just remembers us beyond.
That's so cool. That is so cool.
But I tell you what, the biggest thing that we did last night as far as recognition, we had our Teachers of the Year, and every year, and it used to be part of the Education Association banquet, and they did it, and as a district we really didn't, but now statewide they actually have a program through Tennessee Department of Ed, where you can get nominated, you can get voted on, all of those things, and we recognize, honestly, I'd say I'd put these 5 folks up against anybody ever, not just in Tennessee. The elementary school teacher of the year, it's Amanda Jager out of Crestview. She's a kindergarten teacher in her 12th year. And for those who ever go to the Y, she also teaches class at the Y. I don't know when she sleeps. I guess teaching kindergarten is part of it. But truly, when we brought the Commissioner of Education herself into Robertson County to go to Crestview one day, that's the classroom we go to, is Miss Amanda's room. And you just won't find a better kindergarten teacher out there. She's just, no offense to any of the kindergarten teachers, but she's definitely, she's a leader not only at Crestview, but throughout the entire district.
I got to say something. She's my neighbor. And
Amanda's your neighbor?
I know her.
Exactly,
I know them well. And my first encounter with Amanda, I got to tell this on her, is they had just moved to the area, and she's an avid runner. And she was running down the road, and this is when she's still college age, right? Because she came to college in Tennessee, and so her parents are like, we're going too. Yeah. And so they're out of New York, upstate New York, and they moved down here and buy this little horse farm on our road. And so we've been friends ever since, and I just love them to pieces. But I see Amanda running, and she's wearing dark clothes. And I said, sweetheart, I pulled over and I said, you need to wear bright clothes, because out here in the country, on this country road, you're going to get run over. And she'll remind me of that every now and then. She goes, that was our first encounter. You told me to wear bright clothes because I was going to get run over. But she's
her mom
precious.
was there last night. It's good to see
Sally.
her as well.
She's hysterical. I love her.
And as I said last night, the most humble person you'll ever meet.
Yes.
Also coaches cross country, and bless her heart, we were at that cross country meet with my nephew who ran for Davidson Academy, and we were there, and we had some schools there, and I knew Springfield Middle was there somewhere, but I didn't know where, so I sent her a text and said, hey, hope y'all did well, blah, 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 because I don't even know how I had her phone number, but I sent her a text. Well, it's one of those where I had her number, but she didn't have mine. So she had no clue. And when she found out it was me, she's like, she's all, embarrassed or whatever. I said, it's okay.
Yeah.
It's all good. And, but yeah, we're very proud of her. At the middle school level, Mr. Dennis Ellison, who is, of course, a teacher over Innovation Academy, he is, I think, pretty solely responsible for starting that robotics program over there, and these kiddos have gone at IA. They've gone up against your Brentwoods. They're literally the top in the state at all competitions they go to. Very proud of the work that he's done.
Very cool. He's
there. Kids are there before most of the teachers are working with him. His military background. Like I said, I said last night, if anybody could give Amanda a run for her money when it comes to how humble she was, it'd be Dennis Ellison. Just calm, and the kids, when E.F. Hutton speaks, You remember that old commercial? That and when Dennis Ellison speaks, people listen. And we flooded his room, I think, twice. With the different issues we had at IA, and every single time, even his robotics, it was all about that program and what he's done with that program. But he's also very. You don't worry about kids being in his room testing on track or mastery on any test, because when you can do it all, and he definitely does it all. So. Very proud of him. And then at the high school level, Cindy Raines over at Springfield High School, her 30th year that we're in, and there was no doubt when those numbers came in that she was definitely the winner there, and very proud of the work that she's done. She actually started at Cheatham Park 30 years ago, and now she is a staple of Springfield High School. When people start talking about the best teachers at Springfield High School and in the school system in math, she's it. She's definitely at the top of our math list. So very proud of the work that she does as well. And like I said, she started back in 1993 at Cheatham Park. So I told her that we were just going to handcuff her, while she was there, make sure she didn't run away.
No retiring.
No retiring anytime soon. We also handed out the 2023 Administrator of the Year. We do Principal of the Year. And that was Mr. Jeff Haynes, Joe Burns High School. And very proud of the work that he's done out there as well. He used to be assistant principal at Springfield High before he went to Joe Burns. And people that know Jeff also knows he's very calm in all situations. As an administrator, you know how hard that is. A lot of times we get a little frustrated and antsy, and because life hits us at the school level. But Mr. Haynes is always pretty calm and just takes every situation and with a clear head. And that's sometimes that's not a skill you teach; you just have it. And then Supervisor of the Year for this year was Miss Teresa Levitt, who is our Student Services Supervisor, former principal of Springfield High. And we joke because every call that comes into central office about anything usually goes to Miss Levitt, because it's a student involved.
I did not know she was the principal at Springfield. I didn't know that was...
At one point, yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Because I've known her because of the coming in and working there now, but I had no idea that was her background. Very interesting.
She was of course she's Springfield High grad. I think 1991. I think it's because I think she and I are pretty close. And then she worked in Cheatham County actually as a principal, assistant principal. I think in the Sycamore area, Cheatham High. I always get those two confused sometimes.
Interesting.
And then she was hired as principal at Springfield High School. And then she was there for quite a few years, and then she came to us as Student Services Supervisor. And under her, the number of social workers have increased, the number of resources that we provide across the school system have increased. She's the first to go out if we have a bus situation, as you know. She's always helping us look for kids or whatever, because I tell people all the time, the best thing you can do when your child gets off the bus is make sure they understand how important it is that they go home. 99.9% of the time when we're looking for a child, it's because they got off the bus, and instead of going home, they decided to go somewhere else. And somebody said, well, that's not on y'all. Yeah, we're responsible for the child until they walk in that home. And so sometimes we're out looking for kids that just decided not to go home that day.
Oh, yes.
So as you know,
yes, I hear about that often.
And it's all hands on deck. We're all driving around looking for children sometimes.
I have to tell you a funny though.
So just tell your kids to go home.
Yes.
And tell you, hey, I'm home, and then go somewhere, and we're golden. But it's very difficult.
They had a kid get on the bus, and again, because my husband's a safety coordinator, I hear stories, ones that he can he doesn't share personal information, but he said there was a young man got on the bus and gave a note that was obviously, he wrote it about his friend coming over, and you're going, that just doesn't look right. So they called the principal, and it turns out the mother had told him to write it. So it was just kind of funny. But as parents, think about how that looks to somebody that's supervisory over your child. It's like, oh, my friend's coming to my house. It's like, that doesn't look like your handwriting.
We ask our parents, please write all of your notes and date your notes. As a former principal, Johnny was sick today. What day was that? Can you put a date on it for me? So anyway, that's my advice to parents.
But I just thought that was so hysterical. They're like, this is throwing up a flag. Anyway, go ahead. All right.
Well, just to mention in our personnel report, and we do these every school board meeting, but we do have some retirements. This is the time of year where people decide, I've put in my 30, 35, 40 years, whatever the case may be. And because he just texted me, I'll bring him up, Patrick Brown, who is our athletic director. And a lot of people, I think I've told the whole world this story, but Coach Brown is actually the reason I'm in Robertson County. I went to Western with his wife, Tracy, and when it came time to do my student teaching, they said, hey, why don't you come to East Robertson? I lived in Bowling Green. I was pretty happy in Bowling Green, but I didn't want to teach in Kentucky at the time. As you know, they went through CARA, if you remember, Kentucky Education Reform Act, and I wanted to come to Tennessee, and they said, well, you can come to East Robertson and help with football. And I said, well, I was in band, but I'll try.
Yeah.
And Pat was very kind to me, and actually, so in the fall of '95, I did my student teaching at East Robertson with Lou Ann Wells, for those who had her, and I helped with football, and that was, it's funny. That was Pat Brown as the head coach, who's just good, solid people, and the assistant coaches were Jeff Chapman, who's now AP at East Robertson High School, John Elmore, who's your athletic director and football coach, Chris Logston, who's over at Heritage, who coached baseball for a number of years, and just wonderful teachers. That was us. I mean, that's who I got to hang out with for a few months when I moved to Robertson County in '95. So Coach Brown is retiring, and I will always call him Coach Brown. I do call him Pat, when it's just he and I. But Mr. Cutts over at Phoenix, Miss Doors over at Watauga, Miss Levant at Joe Burns, Coach Murphy at East Robertson, who was also stable when I got there. Neil's been around quite a few years, and with his basketball coaching, has just made a huge impact, not just in classroom, but on the basketball court, of a lot of kids in Cross Plains. Your legacy, and I know our former director talked about this a lot. When you retire and kids are coming out of the woodwork, and they're in their 30s and 40s, saying you made a difference in my life back a long time ago, it's a big deal. And you know what? And I had I've had dinners bought for me from kids that I at the time you don't realize the relationship that you're making because they're a kid, but the kids know. I mean, kids just know, and they know they can read you like a dang book. And if you're not bringing it that day, and they've already got the relationship, they'll ask you and say, "Hey, what's wrong with you?" And so developing relationships is very important. And Coach Murphy was pretty much the king of that. No matter who you were. And that's a big deal. Miss Robertson, Rebecca over at Springfield High School, and Felicia Vaughn, my buddy over at Heritage Elementary. So we did talk about those folks for a few minutes last night, and just proud of the work they do. On the classified side, we talked about JJ, Mr. Gerald Jones, who building grounds, who retired, as well as Mr. Moulton, one of our drivers, transportation. Like I said, these folks have been around Robertson County Schools for decades, and they've pretty much given their life and their whole work life to the district, and we're very proud that they were part of us. But it's kind of a big deal.
Absolutely.
So yeah, we talked about those folks for a while.
So that's the list of retirements this month that had been announced, and and I had not met Coach Brown, and he came in with Jamie last week, and it was such a pleasure to meet him. What a nice guy.
Yeah, he's a little nervous.
Actually, he was great. He did fabulous.
Well, I tell you what, I think he was floored by the number of people that came up after him, and so, hey, I heard you on the radio. I said, yeah. I said, she got quite a few people listening to her, if not on the radio, on Facebook.
Yeah,
because that's what I do. I go in.
Yeah.
If you look at if you look at your Facebook in the morning, and if you see that Stacy Causey's listening. It's not Stacy Causey. That's me.
That's you.
That's me.
How funny.
Because I pull it up when I get to the office, and I'll minimize it, but I'll be listening the whole time.
Yeah, so, I'm sitting here seeing people like Mr. Heinerman's on,
of course,
and Joe Shannon's on.
Yeah,
some of the folks over at the press shop that I know.
Mr. Marshall, James T. came up to him, and
so,
quite a few, and you definitely by adding Jamie, and I know Sorrels has been on there, and I'll always call him Sorrels because that's what we call called his dad as well. But just those sports-minded people.
Yeah.
We've got a lot of former students and former players that are now doing these kind of things that are keeping all of us kind of in tune of what's going on. Because even Terrence Summers, who does Social Dweebs, and Coach Holman, they did the Social Dweebs during football season for Springfield High. They did our middle school basketball tournament, and I had the opportunity to talk to them right before the championship game, and Terrence asked me, he says, "Hey, what's one of the things that you were trying to do 6 years ago?" And honestly, the one thing that we started, and it was a silly hashtag when we started that hashtag, we are RCSTN. The reason we started that is because one of my goals, and one of all of our goals, I think, every year is we want East Robertson to care about the fact that Greenbrier's doing this. We wanted Coopertown to care about that Springfield's doing this. We wanted Joe Burns to, care about, whatever Phoenix Academy was doing, and because we're all in this together, folks. This idea of, I go to this school and only care about this school. That's not the world we live in anymore. When you stop caring about what other people are doing as your fellow man, then we're in trouble. So anyway, we started that, and I think we've done a pretty good job, and these guys are definitely helping that as well on the sports side of it.
I agree. And with that said, too, you got the East Robertson Cup there.
I do.
They're playing tomorrow. They're playing tomorrow.
Speaking of hashtags, we are ER.
There you go. And we've got, so be sure and check out the game that they're going to be at the state tournament tomorrow. And Jamie's like, they're going to win because he had something where he cannot be there. Jamie Nixon, he's just killing him. That he can't be there tomorrow, and so he's expecting the win to send them on into Friday, so he can be there and see them all the way to the final. So
and a lot of folks are comparing this run that Coach Caton's got. Of course, Greenbrier boy, by the way. See, Greenbrier boy coaching East Robertson High School in the state tournament. I just think that's cool to say.
It's very cool.
But anyway, but they're comparing this group to, the group that like Coach Causey had. And of course, Jamie Nixon, I know with Coach Causey. And it's one of the first names I learned when I got to East Robertson was David Causey and that basketball team that made a pretty good run there for quite a few years. So Kurt's done a good job out there. And like I said, and the coaches that have these kids for the past 30 years, and Neil Murphy is one of them. You just keep that tradition. You have good years, you have bad years, but the tradition continues, and then eventually, all of a sudden, you're winning the state title like they did last year. And actually, their last game last year before they went on the road for the tournament, the day after, we tore up their gym. That's where they've got a new floor, because it was.
I remember you talking about that.
Yeah, we tore up their gym.
Now.
Plus, all right, they're playing in the state tournament, and they have no gym,
Yeah.
And just very proud of the work that those players and those coaches are doing.
It's very exciting, though. It's just very exciting that those kiddos are going to be heading to state tomorrow. So be praying for them and be encouraging them. And let's pause for a second, take another break, and talk about my friends Barry and Rebecca Richards with the Exit Realty Garden Gate team. Whatever you're dealing with in real estate, it can be a game changer, whether or not if you're selling property and you do not have the type of photography and videography, anything to show what you have to offer. If it's not great, you're not going to get the traction that you need when it comes to getting people through your property. And when you've got a marketer on the team, if you've got a marketer that can come into your house and say, the place looks a little cluttered. Maybe you need to do this a little different. Maybe you need to do a little something on the outside. Let's take some new pictures. Let's get some video. It'll make all the difference in the world. When people are flipping through those listings, they're going to pause on yours. And that's what Barry specializes. Now, his bride, Rebecca, she's been at this a long time, one of the first in the area to be a seniors real estate specialist. We tell you that because that illustrates how she studies and stays up to date on all the things that are going on in the real estate market. So she crosses every T and dots every I. Together, they are part of the Exit Realty Garden Gate team, a huge team that they say too, if you want to come into real estate and you need somebody to mentor you, they say, come on, let's see what they've got going on. They're up in Cross Plains. Barry and Rebecca are. They've been there about 27 years now. They'll be at the Kilgore Station Bluegrass Festival, third weekend in May. I'll be there as well. But just great in the community. Barry comes out and helps me in my audio and video class because he's just an expert at all those things. We actually have some drone footage for you, as a matter of fact, of the construction. My kids did Every bit of it.
Hot
Yeah,
dog.
and I will try to get that to you today.
Oh, absolutely.
It kind of slipped my mind with all the things, but Barry came out and helped us with that. If you want to connect with them, sellwithbecky.com or buyrobertsoncounty.com. Call them at 615-504-7425. 615-504-7425. Tell them you turned Cincha, getting back into the show. But yes, that drone footage, I called him. I said, I promised Dr. Causey would get him some drone footage. And I know I can do it, but I'm just a little nervous about, turning the kids loose with the drones and flying,
Right.
But he just came out just to supervise. The kids did every bit of it. Every bit of it.
For sure.
Yeah, it's really neat. It is just, I'm so excited what we're doing with the audio video program.
Well,
So,
and you also learn, there's a lot of things. Of course, I don't know anything about construction. I know every time we have construction meeting, they look at me like, really? And I'm like, that's not my world,
Yeah.
But we are putting trusses up at the middle school. We actually have a concrete floor that's been poured because they do all the the outside walls first, and then they pour the concrete on the inside once they get all the plumbing done and all this stuff. And now the theater footers are about to be poured. So very, very exciting for that project. But to see it from that vantage point, you learn a lot other than just driving by every day, because I probably drive by it about 3-4 times a week. Even on days that we don't have meetings, just running around, and the brick looks like it's going to match pretty good. You always worry about new construction matching the old construction, but very excited because that's been a long time coming. Even when I was principal there. Yeah,
we'll get you some more footage too, and we'll try to get that ongoing. And as I get more comfortable, it's just going up. If we're flying right there in the field where it's all contained, I'm good. But when you start, because you have to stand on the edge of the parking lot and you're flying over the school, and you've got it in sight, but it's still a little nerve-wracking.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And so, but it's right there next to us.
Right.
It's easy to get drone footage of that for us.
Cool.
So we'll get some more, but I do have one set of footage, one little clip for you. So.
Well, thank you. Another item on the board agenda last night, and the reason I bring this up is because, of course, it's spring, and as our disciplined folks will always tell you, spring has sprung, and there are a lot of things that are happening that are not necessarily in board policy. And I do encourage everyone out there to look at our board policy, because when it talks about code of conduct for our kiddos, that's in there. It tells you what a level 1 offense, level 2, and a lot of parents will say, why did you give this consequence to my child? And that's very simple, usually because it's a level 3 offense, and these are the consequences that we have that are afforded to us by board policy. One of the things that was added, though, deals with this idea of electronic threats and victimization of students. And I'll read you the old policy said, credible victimization of any student, that's harassment, sexual, racial, ethnic, religious, bullying, cyberbullying, hazing, that was part of level 4 offense. That's a big deal. Credible electronic threats to cause bodily injury or death to another student or employee was part of the policy. Now, we've added the Robertson County Schools employee to both of those because we do have kiddos now that are creating fake accounts that are impersonating people in authority, whether they be teachers or whatever.
Oh, my goodness.
My buddy Chris Marzak, who was the director of schools, I remember one of the first times this happened when he was director of Murray County. They created an account with his picture, his actual picture that he used, because they just copy. You can just copy now, and the only difference in the Twitter handle was one letter. And if you didn't know how to spell Marzak correctly, you would have thought it was him, and saying things like "school's out today," and whatever, which was all not correct. And so I always tell people, kids need to put down their phones and go outside and hang out for a little while, and just know that what you do online never leaves. But a lot of times, when there were employees involved, then we didn't necessarily have anything in our policy for to protect our employees. It was if it happened towards a child, we had that in the policy, but when it happened towards employees, so when kiddos would try to text our employees or message our employees or those kind of things, some not very nice things, then we needed to be able to go to policy and say, this is what you've done and this is the consequence for it, because it's pretty serious.
How soon is a staff member, is that where I can see it and read it simply because I do audio video, and this is part of the curriculum that I teach, is the importance of digital citizenship, and this is a very big piece of it.
And in April, it will pass on second reading.
Okay.
And then it should be posted on our board policy website pretty quickly thereafter. TSBA runs that for us, so as soon as we give it to them, they usually upload it the next day. So
Very good.
Yeah, but it becomes official after the next board meeting.
Any of my audio video 1 classes, that's right out of the gate. We're going to talk digital citizenship and the fact that you're all broadcasting.
Well, I mean, all I got to do is watch the news. Watch the news yesterday about being aware of what you do on social media.
Yeah.
I did hear your show a little bit talking about that.
Yeah, with Pamela.
Yeah, that was interesting listening.
It's going to be interesting to see how that all.
Yeah,
there's a perfect example. I mean, honestly, that is a perfect example of what I try to teach these guys. You're broadcasting. You are, and I truly, I need to talk to Senator Kerry Roberts about going and teaching a class up there for them.
Right.
Anyway, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Well, and the thing is, even by just as simple as hitting that like button, people know what you like, and when they can see,
believe it.
They can go to your Twitter account right now, and you can see everything I like. And but please just be very careful of those kind of things. Another policy, there was only 2 last night on the board agenda. The other one was dealt with physical examinations and immunizations. One of the things in the health department. It's the Tennessee Department of Health Immunization Program documents. It does state that when you do enroll in Tennessee schools, then your immunization should be on a Tennessee immunization form. Not Florida, not California, not whatever. When you enroll, a lot of times they'll say, well, I've got my immunizations, and it's from,
Alaska.
Indiana or whatever.
Yeah.
And so what we do, we actually ask you to go to the Tennessee Department of Health, our health department here, and make sure that you get all that on Tennessee form, and then everything's consistent with everybody else. So that is now in policy, and it will be official after the second reading in April. And it's really not based on Tennessee code annotated. It's not on law, but it is on the Tennessee Department of Health recommendation. So that will become part of our policy.
Okay, very good. And that just kind of keeps out the clutter and makes it clear.
Absolutely.
Well, a good place to go ahead and pause and take our last break. And oh my goodness, I'm saving this one. I'm leaving your microphone up because we're talking Cumberland Connect. I'm just such a happy Cumberland Connect customer. It is so wonderful. And at first I wasn't real crazy because I'm doing the streaming services, and you were just like, YouTube TV is awesome. And I was like, I don't know if I like. Oh, I do like it.
Yeah.
It's on demand and it can go with you, and it's just I'm learning streaming services and how all the things work together. And for somebody that's not trying to teach that to my mom, for if they had this, I'm kind of building up to the fact that Cumberland Connect, if you'll reach out to them, they have like a community forum where you can come in and they will teach you all this stuff and help you understand what it means to get high-speed internet, and then how streaming services work, and how do you get your local TV, that so you can get all of that from Cumberland Connect. And the best thing to do is just call them at 800-987-2362, 1-800-987-2362, or go to cumberlandconnect.org. But it's a game changer, isn't it?
It really is. It becomes a utility like your lights.
Yes.
And they see it as that, and that's what I think makes them different than anything else out there. Everybody else is wanting your service and your money, and these folks at least understand that no, it's a utility that should be part of your life every day. And like I said, we forget that we have it. It was funny. We have all the NCISs, set to record on YouTube. And last night, I just came in from the board meeting, and I just happened to flip it on. I went, oh, wait, that's a new one. I was on live TV.
Yeah.
Says, oh, wait, that's a new one. So Stacy brushed her teeth, do all that. And then we sat down. It was, 45 minutes in, I think. And we started it from the beginning and watched NCIS last night before we went to bed. So I mean, that's just, that's something DirecTV, we had that. Of course, we paid out the wazoo for it. But just knowing that I'm sitting there on my laptop watching TV, Stacy's looking up stuff for a spring break trip, all that stuff, and all of that's using the same internet, and there are no hiccups. I mean, there's nothing, and it's like once you start using it, you just forget that you almost forget how bad you had it.
Yeah.
And I don't think I'll ever forget how bad it was.
Me either, because mine was terrible, and it is so nice to have everything. I was even able to hook it into my generator and have internet while the power was down. So that's what was hysterical for me,
Wow,
that
yeah.
mine worked even with the power down. And, you know, because, like Dr. Causey said, it's a utility now. That's why it's powered by CEMC. If you're a Cumberland Electric customer, you're going to have access to Cumberland Connect. And if you need some help paying for it, there's an affordable connectivity program providing qualifying households with monthly credit to help pay for internet services, and if eligible, you could receive up to $30 per month toward broadband services. Get in touch with Cumberland Connect today. Again, cumberlandconnect.org, cumberlandconnect.org.
And all of our schools have information on the program that they shared. There was a
wonderful.
staff meeting, I think about a month or so ago, Cumberland Connect showed up, and they have programs for a lot of our kiddos to actually get it for free.
Yeah, that's what that is about.
Absolutely free. So, and when that happens, then the school system can take care of your laptops or any electronic needs that you have, especially if you're in grades 6 through 12, and if you need to use it at home. It is not necessarily, for your Xbox. We're not necessarily going to do that for you to play video games, which you learned during COVID. A lot of families were using hotspots for lots of things other than schoolwork, but we will definitely take care of your school needs.
Yeah, and we're having a like a drill to make sure that we can do online
Absolutely, yeah.
classes through Teams, and so that's going on. We had that introduced to us at the
State law.
Yeah, but we had that introduced to us at the last professional day that we had on last Monday. So that, I think it's all happening this morning, but I think it's during first block while I'm here. So, but anyway, so making sure that we can, if something were to send us home again, we can get online and stay in touch with the kiddos.
Right.
And
And we-
internet's got to have it.
And we do have 2 days, one per semester, that if we had to close for some reason and we wanted to have a virtual learning day, then we could. But as I will stress to anybody who wants to listen, the only way that we will have a stay-at-home day and be virtual is if we've totally run out of stockpile days and we don't have a choice.
Yeah.
Because we're going to use all of those up first. We're not gonna make it a virtual day just because.
And-
we're going to use our stockpile days first, and we have 5 of those left actually.
Explain what you were talking about with the state law we were just referring. For people who don't realize there's a law.
Yeah, there's now a law that says that school systems can use 2 days, one per semester, in the event of weather, sickness, those kind of things, in which it is a virtual learning day where kiddos can stay at home, do things virtually, and they still be counted present. And that has to be district-wide, though, and we can do that. However, along in those same lines, with that same law, it says that the districts will have a virtual learning drill, which is what we're doing. It doesn't all have to be the same day. Schools can pick a day to do it, but they have to prove that if we do have to go home for a day or two, then we have the capability of doing that. That's all that's about. So even if you're in second grade, if your child came home and says, hey, we practiced logging on today and doing all of that stuff, that's really just so we could make sure if we had to do it, then we would be capable of doing that at a flip of a switch. That also includes sending your child home at the elementary level with maybe some even paper things. Because it says virtual, it doesn't necessarily mean that you have to be on a computer for 7 hours a day.
Right.
So there's lots of different ways we can do that. So and it's really a drill. There should be, it's just making sure that we can do it if we had to do it. But as long as I'm sitting in the chair that I happen to get to sit in every day, we're going to use all of our stockpile days first.
Okay, so that's just a drill, and I know Greenbrier is doing it today, and so not a big deal. But some of the kids will come on because they were all asking me questions about it yesterday, and I was like, oh, it's just you just got to get onto your computer, open Teams, and just join a meeting. Oh, and by the way, Happy Pi Day.
Yes.
So, Happy Pi Day.
I got my 5 o'clock text this morning from a former friend. Sounds like he's not a friend anymore. Former
Colleague,
teacher,
colleague,
friend of mine, Tommy Williamson, who coached at Greenbrier Middle, and he's always very good on this day. He sends me a text at 5. I'm glad he didn't text me at 3:15. He's done that before too, just to let me know that it was Pi Day. And he now works on the golf course at Opryland, so I don't have a whole lot of I don't worry about Tommy too much.
Yeah.
He's got a pretty good gig these days. Day. So
there you go. But happy Pie Day.
Happy Pie Day.
We're going to have some fun with that at Greenbrier as well. So.
Oh, absolutely.
What else you got?
Well, we did have some bids that the board approved last night. Everything from water cooler out at Joe Birch High School. If you drive around back and you see that big gray monster, that is water cooling for HVAC, and we've had some issues with that. And when you rebid that, it's quite a chunk of change. And anything over 50,000 has to be bid out. So that is law as well. So we bid that out, and we got those bids back, and they approved those. Also, Chrysler is getting a new serving line, which is also a big deal for their cafeteria. But one thing, shout out to Springfield High School. Can't stress the importance of, for those who have had kids that come through school, it's the FAFSA, and I always say that. It is the Financial Aid Federal Student Assistance that all kids should be doing right now, juniors and seniors, especially if you're looking at Tennessee Promise, then they have deadlines. But no matter what, you're going to be filling that sucker out until your kids leave college. I still am doing it for my two. Usually I do mine in the fall, but that's just because I want to get it done and get it over with. Of course, they ask for your tax information, and now they have a link where you can do that pretty easily. All of it. It'll take you about 30 minutes to get through one application for one child. But it also helps you, you learn about grants and loans, all this. They connect you to all of this, especially with the dual enrollment grant. But shout out to Springfield High School. They actually earned the FAFSA champion status, which means that they've increased their completion rate at least 5% over last year. And they are the only school in the county who has received that right now. So very proud of them. The other schools, we usually average around 70%, but you have to get at least 90%, or you have to have increased last year's by 5% or more in order to get champion status. So we did give them, Dr. Tucker, a big shout out last night.
Well, and some of those that don't fill it out, those are ones going into, they're going into to jobs that don't require,
Right.
school. Advanced education, college degree,
Right.
they're going into the trades. I was trying to get the words.
Well,
they're going into the trades.
But even like Tennessee Promise, we tell kids all the time, fill it out. Because you might change your mind.
Yeah, true.
And once that deadline's passed, it's passed.
Right.
So you're better off filling it out and then not even worrying about it than not filling it out. So just a thought out there. It costs nothing. It really costs nothing. A lot of people say, well, I don't want them to have my tax information and all this stuff. Well, guess what? They have it anyway.
Okay.
I
appreciate you saying that, because I have these conversations with students. Well, I'm not going to college, so I don't need to do that.
Yeah.
Well, no, but what if you change your mind?
Yeah, and
that's a good point.
TCAT, a lot of those funds can be used for TCAT now.
Okay.
So if you're going into, who knows, you might 6 months after you graduate, you may go, you know what, maybe I'm going to go take a few classes. Well, then at that point, you have to fill it out, but it's always better if you just do it on the front end. So.
Okay, very good.
Anyway.
I'll remember that when I have these conversations with some of my juniors.
It definitely doesn't hurt. And a lot of times the kids will come to the counseling office, and the counselors will sit down and call their parents and say, all right, let's do this together. They have FAFSA nights. All of our high schools has FAFSA nights. I need to say that correctly. And that kind of thing. So
that's wonderful. I like that idea. Okay.
So that was, we have some other things I'll share with you next month because they're not public yet.
Okay.
But I do want to just let everybody know, of course, we talked about spring break next week. We are doing a lot of planning when it comes to facilities. And, of course, we've talked about Greenbrier Middle. We also have HVAC replacement at Westside. The Education Committee is actually meeting at Westside tomorrow for their meeting to talk about future renovations and what they could look like to that building. Innovation Academy, of course, with its oldest sewer system we have, I think, in the district. How do we fix that? And then as well as Chrysler, which has been around for quite a while as well. So when you look at what we've done at Coopertown Elementary School, I think you can expect that same type of process that says, all right, we're going to add a new part to this building and then maybe tear down the stuff that's relatively not in great shape anymore. So I think we're going to use that concept in a few of our elementary schools moving forward. And it's the right thing to do. You know, the one thing that we're a little notorious for, and that's not a good thing, is, you know, we build a facility like we did, you know, back in the 60s, 70s, and then we don't really touch it. You know, we don't really come back to it ever so often, and we're trying to do a better job of that. But at the same time, that costs money. So we've done a really good job at using grant money to take care of the things that we can, which is why Chrysler just got an HVAC upgrade in all their rooms, meaning that the humidity is down. You know, those kind of things. Humidity is not your friend when it comes to schools. It causes mold on the windowsills and ceilings and things like that. But we've replaced all of those, and that was done without a single penny from the taxpayer. Greenbrier Middle School is COVID money. You know, we're able to use those kind of things so that they're not a burden on the local taxpayer. But at some point, if you really want great school buildings in your district, and I think you can look at some of your Williamsons and your Wilsons and your Rutherfords, then it's going to have to come from taxpayer dollars. That's what public education is all about. So just know that is something that we want to do. We want to make sure that our kiddos are going to schools that they're proud of, facilities that are, of course, safe and beautiful at the same time.
Mm-hmm. Very good. Dr. Chris Causey, door's always open. If you have questions, just reach out to him at the office. Now, he's taking spring break, though, right? You're taking.
Actually, I'm glad you brought that up. The district office will be open Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday next week.
Okay.
We always try to take off a couple of days, and I always ask them, do you want the front end or the back end? Of course, they want the back end. And a lot of our folks do take off the week. They just take vacation days for those 2 days.
Yeah.
But the office will be closed Thursday and Friday.
Okay.
Yes, we are taking a small trip to New Orleans.
Oh, fun.
I went in high school with my best friend at the time, and Stacy, of course, being from California, has never been. Our daughter went on a mission trip there. So,
I did too. I went down on a mission there.
So we're going to go down and see what. I'm very fortunate. We originally were talking about going back for my 50th. And of course, that was Mardi Gras. So we chose to not go.
Yeah, let's wait a minute. Let's wait a minute.
So we're gonna take a few days and go down there and enjoy what New Orleans has and the alligators and the bayou.
Oh yeah, it's great.
I think we're gonna eat well. That's usually
eat those little donut things. What do they call them?
Beignets.
Yeah. Oh, they're so good. So good. I don't know what it is about fried bread, but you know, it's basically what it is. Dr. Chris Causey, and happy birthday. We told you happy birthday on your birthday.
Yes,
so
thank you very much.
Anyway, and thank you for joining us here for One Street Over. We will be back tomorrow with East Robertson, go. We wish you luck again tomorrow morning. We're going to be talking with Decision Choices and Options tomorrow. They're going to take the day, come in and talk about their fundraiser coming up on the 30th, and we hope you'll be a part of it. This is 1100 WSGI. God bless.